Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Tuesday, May 17th. So we have the moon in Sagittarius all day trying to help us gain a bigger, brighter perspective and picture the possibilities of the future, trying to renew our faith, renew our optimism, renew our confidence. Of course, we're still coming out of the full moon lunar eclipse energy, and the moon in Sag is trying very hard to show us where there is light from some of the darkness that we had to sit in order to realize where it is that endings are taking place and where it is that beginnings are taking place as well. We just have to frame up the right kind of perspective and understanding in order to see it in the way that it actually is and not in that way that we want it to be. Many of us thinking that our physical circumstances right now just absolutely suck and that they're going to dictate for us what it is that's actually possible. Keep in mind, we have just reestablished our connection with our higher selves, with the higher dimensions of intellect, of information, of energy. And now we, with the moon in Sag, are going to explore what it is we want more of, what it is we need more of, what it is that we are going to do from here. There are 9 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them involve the moon. Right out of the gate, we have the moon in Sag bumping into Saturn, the Lord of Karma. And this is a positive aspect, so we don't really have to worry about, negative Nancy and Betty the Bully coming out to play. What we do have to be concerned about is focusing very, very carefully on the roles and responsibilities that we currently have in life, on what it is that we feel in alignment with, and what it is that we feel overwhelmed with. The whole point of this particular aspect is to illuminate for us where it is that we have to break free. Now, many of us over the last little bit have become too well aware of some of the things in our physical lives that are just no longer serving us. This particular aspect is definitely opening us up to the possibilities on what our future vision, our future dream, our future reality could look like. But it is going to require us to boss up. It is going to require us to get a little bit down to the nitty-gritty, get a little bit real with what it is that we have to do here in our physical realms in order to cut that cord with the things no longer serving us and create a space where we can become aligned with the roles, the responsibilities, the vision, the dream that we are now trying to manifest. The moon is going to semi-square Pluto, the great transformer who was retrograde in Capricorn. This semi-square is a little bit of a tension point because the moon in Sag is very futuristically focused, while Pluto, especially in a retrograde, is trying to make us look back. What are we looking back upon? Well, we're looking back upon our painful experiences, on all the times, all the opportunities we had in life to boss up, and where it is that we gave our power away. Now, this particular energy is supposed to illuminate for us the past, where it is we've done a disservice to ourselves, where it is we did sabotage our opportunities, where it is that we allowed our self-destructive thoughts, behaviors get in the way from actually moving forward, from actually aligning with our blessings. So the conflict that we have here is that the moon in Sag wants to stay light, wants to stay happy, wants to stay focused on the big picture, the possibilities of the future. But we have to consider the situations of the past. We have to really dive in, be very aware where it is that we failed ourselves in the past so that we don't repeat those same patterns and behaviors moving forward. There is a beautiful shift of energy, beautiful opportunity for clean slate, for brand new beginnings. But if we're taking the old egoic reactive form of our pain, of our suffering, of the times in which in our past we had the opportunity to boss up and instead we stayed in that victimhood mentality, created a block for ourselves, we are only going to repeat past patterns and behaviors that's really going to mess up all the work that we've been doing in order to raise our vibration and frequency so that we can start manifesting some of these elements that we're now really, really inspired to pursue. We get a little bit of help because the moon in Sag is going to go ahead and trine good energy, harmonizing, blending with Chiron, the wounded healer. You may remember just a couple of days ago, as we kind of intensified to that full moon lunar eclipse peak, that Venus and Chiron kind of did a little bit of a dance in order to show us our wounds, especially where relationships were concerned, and gave us an opportunity to heal some of those wounds. The moon in Sag harmonizing right now with Chiron is a good indication that we are pushing past some of those blocks. We are recognizing some of those wounds, especially reflecting back in our past behaviors, our past situations where we did fall victim to not standing up for ourselves, where we did fall victim to giving our own power away, where we did fall victim of actually blocking our own blessings. Having this realization, integrating that in our mental plane, becoming conscious of it is definitely a healing energy that will give us an opportunity when presented with the same type of opportunities and situations moving forward, that we should be able to choose differently, to overwrite that system, to overwrite the program, and of course, be done with that particular wound altogether. The moon will be bumping into Uranus, though, in not the nicest way. And let me tell you, in this particular aspect, it's likely some of our plans that we had aren't going to work out. There might be a disruption to our plans. There might be just information that comes out of nowhere that changes your perspective, your understanding, or the plans that you're trying to make. Now, this Uranian energy is the great awakener. It likes to shock us, likes to awe us, likes to open our mind up to new changes, new possibilities, if you will. But the way that it's popping off right now really doesn't make us feel safe or secure. If anything, it's kind of adding to the element of us not having control. And of course, control is very much an ego thing, but the moon in Sag that tries to stay open, that tries to stay confident and optimistic and kind of focused on the future, really kind of gets beat back down to earth in this present moment by the disruption, by the shock, by the awe, by the wrench being thrown into our plans. The moon will trine Venus. This is definitely feeding off of the earlier situation that we're not going to have control over, the trigger, the activation that just pops off, really derailing our thoughts, our energy, our plans. But this is a positive aspect with Venus, who is in Aries energy, who is doing all that she can to cut the cords from the past, to really recognize what it is that she's fighting for, what it is that she's pushing through these obstacles and challenges for. And to be totally honest with you, whatever situation popped off, it's going to be very, very short-lived because we're feeling positive. We're able to see the bigger, brighter picture, and we're actually looking at situations that maybe we would have been depressed or angry about just a couple of days ago. We're recognizing that things are actually happening for us. So when the moon trines Venus, this is likely going to be a little bit of a pep talk that we are kind of instilling within ourselves. We're not letting the earlier situation that popped off really get to us. We're not sweating it. We're trying to really hype ourselves up and really just focus on what it is that we're actually fighting for, especially where relationships are concerned. The moon is going to bump into Uranus again, but this time it's a positive aspect, meaning now we have a bigger, brighter picture. We have a better understanding. We are becoming a little bit more clear with what it is that we want, need, and desire. We're using the earlier situation that popped off as a motivation, as an inspiration, as a catalyst to open our minds up, to adapt, to roll with the punches instead of being dragged. And for the most part, this is likely going to give us a huge chunk of the puzzle piece. Again, many of us looking for that full-blown picture on what the end goal is supposed to look like. I don't know that we're ever going to get that because the variables, the timelines, the contracts are changing so quickly that the universe is only really giving us a couple pieces of the puzzle at a time. But as you know, Sometimes you only need to put a couple of puzzle pieces together before you get the general idea of the bigger, broader picture that will be revealed once all the pieces are on the table, snapped together, and we can really see that picture becoming bigger and brighter. Keep in mind, with the moon in Sag, everything is a little bit extra. It's ruled over by Jupiter. So there's a magnifying glass on whatever it is that we're thinking, whatever it is that we're feeling. We have a little bit of a tendency to be a little bit over dramatic, a little bit extra. We want more for ourselves, but it's not a bad thing. We've been stuck in some very low vibrational frequencies, very stuck in the confines of our physical circumstances. So letting ourselves go into la la land and dreaming a bigger dream and focused on the future isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just want you to keep in mind that we have to be realistic. So when you get a bigger, grander perspective or vision of what it is that you're working towards, just keep in mind that it's up to you to break that big picture down into those smaller puzzle pieces on what it is that you have control over in the here and now, and what it is that you can do in the here and now to actually align with that vision, with that dream, with that goal. Now, the moon is going to bump into the true node. And of course, the true node is our destiny point. We just had a lunar eclipse that, of course, involved the nodes of the moon. And this particular aspect is a learning opportunity. It is an opportunity for us to see that there is a conflict, there is a confusion. The plans that we had for ourselves are rapidly changing because people are popping off. They're showing us their true colors. We're having a change of heart, a change of perspective as well. And therefore, the plans that we had maybe need a little bit of revision. Mercury is retrograde. It is the time to review, revisit, revise, reorganize, restructure, rewrite the kind of dream, the kind of goal that we currently aren't sitting so well with. Speaking of Mercury, Mercury is about to semi-square Venus. Mercury, being in its place of power in Gemini energy, is definitely creating a disconnect between our heart and our head, between our physical realm and our soul spirit realm. We are constantly having to take two very extreme choices, two very extreme decisions, two very extreme paths. We're having to debate it out, not only within ourselves, but with the people that we actually deem to be worthy of this journey, whether they're coming with us or not. And especially in a retrograde, this is like our unconscious self really sorting through our thoughts and feelings, bringing up certain issues into our awareness, into our consciousness, in order for us to figure out whether or not these elements need to stay in the past or whether or not we're going to continue to pour into them and actually create a better reality out of the situations that we're not so fond of as of right now. The fact that Venus is involved speaks of relationships, speaks of money matters, speaks of love. Now, we have been talking about love, and just a reminder, the relationship that you have with yourself, the way that you love yourself, the way you take care of yourself and nurture yourself is the foundation and the template for all the other relationships that you have in your life. And we need to be using the relationships in our lives right now in order to see very clearly the work that we still need to do within ourselves. Keep in mind, though, Venus is in Aries. She is very fired up. She is very passionate, has new desires. She is not willing to settle for things that she settled for in the past. She is not willing to even let the past be a factor in what it is that she is currently pursuing. So Mercury kind of semi-squaring, which is not the best aspect. It's not total conflict, but it's an uncomfortable situation in our heart and in our head. With Venus, this is kind of an opportunity to see where A, we're not feeling so good between our heart and our head. B, where it is that in our other relationships, we're not really on the same page. And C, gives us an opportunity, if you feel so inclined to do so, to speak on the confusion, speak on the uncomfortability, speak on what it is that you're not happy about in these certain relationship dynamics that you 100% feel like you absolutely want to work on. And again, really being able to look at certain relationships right now and figuring out whether or not they're worth the time, the energy, the love, and the attention that they need, that all in itself is a huge factor, because many relationships right now are falling off. Many of us are are just have outgrown certain people, certain situations, certain dynamics, which can be very painful. But again, we're being offered an opportunity to speak our truth, to clear the air, and to get a better perspective on not only what it is that we want, need, and desire, but how those in our life that we are speaking these truths to are going to react to what it is that we are now expressing and requesting in a lot of cases. We are going to end the day off with the moon squaring, tension, boxing ring, conflict, Mars, the god of war, who rules over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our aggression, our anger, if need be, who is in Pisces. We've been talking about this. Mars isn't really happy in Piscean energy because he's very aggressive. He's very straightforward. He wants to just move forward. He wants to be aggressive enough to move forward. This Piscean energy has turned him into a passive aggressive energy. We're not seeing the kind of action, the kind of productive rewards that we want to see in our physical realm right now, because this Piscean energy is very emotional, very karmic, very focused on dreams and inspirations, and it's been very choppy. We haven't had a lot of steady physical energy working with us. We haven't had a lot of steady or stable visions, dreams, intuitive insights. Again, this eclipse portal that we've been in has definitely distorted time and space and dimensions and created a lot of a disconnect for many of us from our higher selves, from our intuition, and from the higher realms of intelligence. Now that they're coming back online, we are kind of receiving these little blips, these little visions, these little dreams, this little surge of energy, what it is that we're passionate about, what it is we want to fight for, what it is that we truly desire. But the moon being in Sag energy, squaring off with Mars in Pisces, is definitely going to be a little bit extra, a little bit overwhelming. We have to be careful that we're not holding all of our anger, all of our frustration in. We do have to let it out. We have to release that. Many of us had that breakdown under the full moon lunar eclipse energy, that bubbling up the volcano that finally erupted in order for us to get all of this negative vibrational emotion and energy out of our physical bodies. So the moon in Sag, the negative part, I guess, to this Sag energy is that we don't have a direction. We don't have a focus. We are so scatterbrained, so focused on the future. We're disconnected with our present. We don't have a focus. May I remind you, Sagittarian energy ruled over by the archer, right? The centaur technically, but the archer. And just a reminder, you know, you have to have a target before you go ahead and pull that arrow back. And that's the problem with Sag energy. That's the shadow part, is that we're just jumping around willy-nilly for the sake of getting the energy out. We actually don't have a concentrated focus, a concentrated direction. And this jittery energy, especially with Mars, who is already semi-aggravated anyways from being stunted out in the growth that we're able to actually see take form in our physical realms because of this Piscean energy, this could be an underlying frustration, an underlying aggression that we just don't know what to do with, because again, we're passive aggressive with this particular energy. So this is going to be a conflict. We don't know what we want. We don't know what we need. We don't know what we desire. We get little blips, but then we don't know the action to take. We don't know the direction to take. And then just when we get a little bit of a vision, a little bit of clarity, and we take one step forward, suddenly a situation pops off where it feels like we're taking two steps back. So there is this little bit of a cha-cha-cha that we're doing right now. I just want to remind you, Mars will be moving into its place of power in Aries on the 24th, and that is when shit is going to hit the fan in all the right ways. That is when we are going to get things popping, when we're going to see a whole lot of progress, a whole lot of change and transformation take place. But of course, we have to ride the waves, the undoing, the ebb and flow, the good, the bad, the ugly of this Piscean energy before we get into that Aries energy. And just keep in mind that although Pisces energy is dreamy and creative and karmic in nature, the shadow part to that is escapism, is wanting to numb, is being overwhelmed to the point where we just want to disconnect from reality altogether. And there's a certain ending, closure that needs to take place in our energy field and our passions and our desires. And let me just remind you, it's okay to no longer be aligned with the dream that you once had. It's okay to lose passion, to lose likeness with something that you were once obsessed with. This is very much the nature of us kind of shedding our skin, being prepared for new karmic chapters, which of course requires us to get down to the nitty-gritty on what it is that actually motivates us, inspires us, gets us fired up and excited about life again.